All right. Today, my good buddy, my longtime friend, Ron Donoho is here with us today. And we're talking about independent journalism and just friendship. Long-time friendship, 20 years, 25 years?
We both came from the East Coast, right? You're from Virginia
Yep.
Beach.
Yep.
I'm from
About
Baltimore.
There. Yeah. Oh, I forgot that.
Early on when I was interviewing you for something or other, probably you were a person to watch for San Diego Magazine.
That's exactly what it was.
When I was there.
Yeah.
We learned about that we were a couple of East Coasters. So, I think I've interviewed you a couple times over the years for a couple different publications. You had me on Fox at least once or twice for Movember. You remember the Movember?
How could I forget?
Where you grow a mustache and it's a charity for men's health.
Mm-hmm. You do that every year?
So I have bowed out of that, but we did that a couple times. So we've been back and forth. We've kept in touch. Yeah. And thanks for having me on your podcast. It's good to catch up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm happy to see you because I'm always happy to see you, but I still need like friendlies on, people who know me well enough to know that I just started this from scratch and, that I'm the janitor and the IT person and the CFO and the CEO.
I know it well. That well, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to talk all about that because I want to hear all about how you came up with the San Diego Sun and what you're doing now. But I have had some really big technical challenges in the last month. And a couple of the interviews I barely got published, and just working with the software company and all that. It was real. And then I took a trip back east to the sun. It was 106 degrees. Went back to Virginia Beach. And so I'm glad, always glad to see you, but I'm really happy that you're here. I need a friendly because here's a perfect example. Literally 5 minutes before you're supposed to get here, my home internet, which I have the best internet, highest everything, all the bells and whistles, fully went out.
That's what happens. Yeah.
And I've never started a business before. This is the first time, but let me introduce you to Ron Donoho. Ron Donoho is an award-winning independent journalist, a longtime San Diego media leader. His career includes 12 years as executive editor of San Diego Magazine, as well as editor roles at San Diego City Beat, sandiego.com, and Ballotpedia. I don't know. I didn't know any.
.org. That's a .org.
Okay.
That's a national public online site. It's basically like a Wikipedia of politics. So it has every political race, every candidate, pretty much all over the country.
Oh, I've used it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I get the ballot in the mail and I go and look, that's what I'm looking at is Ballotpedia.
That's one thing you can use. Yeah.
Okay. Are you still doing that? Or is that?
No, I haven't done that for a while.
Okay.
It's a great organization. It's really, it was a great idea to give resources to everybody in the country. If they have any question about whatever race they're interested in, it's very unbiased. It's not one way or the other. It's just
even now,
still, yeah.
That's good to know. There's something out there that is unbiased.
Yeah.
There is breaking news, everyone.
Yeah.
Today, Ron is the founder and publisher and editor of the San Diego Sun, an independent news outlet focused on downtown San Diego, while continuing to write freelance features and serve on the San Diego Press Club board. We have a San Diego Press Club?
We do. There's two press organizations in San Diego. There's the Press Club and then there's the Society of Professional Journalists. So each one is sort of independent. And it's rough all over for press people, for press clubs. But yes, we do have a club that's, actually I'm on the board. I lead a committee that does educational programming. So we've done 3 so far this year. We've got a couple more planned.
What do you mean, for kids or for people or adults?
For journalists. So, Dean Nelson at Point Loma, Nazarene University.
Okay.
PLNU. He's the head of the journalism department out there. We had him on to talk about, his view on the state of journalism in San Diego. Fascinating. He's so smart. I'm so happy to be a friend of his.
What did he say? I mean, what is the status of journalism, not only here, but anywhere? Because I'm fascinated by the independent journalism, which is in large part why I wanted you to come in. I talked to Amy Reichert a few weeks ago. She's an independent journalist on her own, doing her own thing. But you have made, I mean, you're more of like a media mogul in San Diego. I mean, you really have been the tip of the spear of publications, independent publications for many years. But what is the status quo right now as far as, you know, the big companies, you know, the over the air broadcasts, you know, the online, like what is the latest?
Yeah, Dean and I had a far ranging conversation, and Dean Nelson, you've probably seen his name.
I
in
know
the
Dean
media.
Nelson. Yeah. Where do I know? I know him.
He's the head of Point Loma journalism department, but he's the guy that if something happens in the media in San Diego, that's who. Like the Union Tribune or someone will call and say, hey, would you give us a comment on the state of this media thing?
Okay.
I mean, as it is, a media thing that happens fairly often is the Union Tribune gets sold. So the UT wouldn't call him for that kind of a comment, but, you know, Voice of San Diego probably would, and other publications would. So I think summing it down to one word, the one word that I think most about that Dean said about local San Diego journalism is fractured. Everything's very fractured, cut up from where it used to be. You know, for decades, the San Diego Union Tribune newspaper has been the paper of record for San Diego. In other words, it's been the biggest. It's been, you know, whether you like it or whether you don't like it, it's been where most people go to get news. And of course, it's been bought out several times over the last decade. You know, now it's owned by a corporation that owns many newspapers.
What do you know the name of the corporation? I can look it up.
It's escaping me right now, but
here, keep talking. I'll look it up
okay.
real quick. Let me put my glasses on.
Yeah, they
I didn't wear glasses when we first met, just so you know.
I'm keeping mine off frame right now. But it's you know, they own many newspapers across the country, and you know, let's just say they're not known for bolstering the news operations. When they pick up a paper, they're known for sort of squeezing the resources so that they can still put out a paper at as low a cost as possible to them. So what that means is, you know, when they come in, editors get offered buyouts or get fired. Same with writers, and it's sad because what happens is the highest paid people are often the most knowledgeable. So, you know, your information leaders walk right out the door, and
teachers to the young ones.
Exactly.
Because even if you do get a journalism degree in college, you wrote for the paper, it takes many years to know how to turn a news story. It's not anything like creative writing or, you know, technical writing. It's its own thing, you know, knowing how to work sources and verify information, and sometimes even know that you don't know that you didn't verify it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a beat reporter. The New York Times used to have a broadcast group, and they had 8 stations, and this was early on in my career, and I worked for one of them, and it was at Channel 3 in Norfolk, Virginia. But, you know, with the Union Tribune or any TV station, any media group, no matter if it's a medium-sized TV station in Norfolk or not, it's still the New York Times. Like, it's the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a gigantic J back then. And I almost slandered the hell out of this city council member. Like, I had been reporting for years. And I'll never forget it because I had this assistant news director who was the meanest person on the planet. I used to call him a monster. But
you probably learned something
But he
from him.
ripped me a new one, as he did everyone.
Yeah.
And I was a better person for it.
Right.
And it got published correctly, but I didn't even know it. Like, if I didn't have elders, I would have been sued. The station would have been sued. I would have just totally slandered someone in public who was a public servant. So when the elders punch out. The young ones really suffer.
Yeah, that's funny. You remind me of a story from one of my first jobs out of college, and it was a small newspaper in Maryland, and it was called The Record, and it's not around anymore. But it was independent, and it was independent back when there were not a lot of independent newspapers. It was kind of in the shadow of the Baltimore Sun. Hint, hint, which is probably where I got the idea for my website, the San Diego Sun.
Get out!
But I was a sports editor, and so I was the only person in the sports department. I wrote 12 to 14 stories a week. It was a weekly. I took pictures, went to games, and then had to come in and oversee the layout. And I would have a problem here, a problem there, and I'd just be going back and forth. And my editor came over to me and said, one calamity at a time, friend, meaning you can't do them all at one time, but you fix one and then you go on to the next one. And that was something I learned from my elders. And that really taught me time management that I still use today. But back to San Diego, in terms of the UT, I don't want to, kudos to the people that are still there, because they're doing probably a lot more work. They're all covering a lot more beats. There's fewer people. There's fewer editors.
But they started getting rid of people in like between 2005 and 2010. I remember Tim Sullivan leaving town.
Yeah. Oh, I love Tim Sullivan.
Yeah. I remember I was like, don't go. Right. Yeah. Cause I worked with him at the Padres when I did their pregame show freelance. And Bill, my buddy Bill, remind me of his last name.
In sports?
Yeah.
Bill Center?
Yes, Bill Center. I think Bill with the UT at the time, and then he went off and
he's with the Padres now, right?
Yeah, last time I saw him, he's everywhere. He's such a great. But like those guys, when they left, that's when I started to notice that the UT, who knows who owned them then, but
that was the Manchester years.
Oh,
that was when Manchester came in, and I don't know how many years he had it, but he sold it to a private company, and then it was sold again.
So what AI says, Gemini, I'm not a huge fan, but every time you turn it off, because you can turn it off. Like, have you ever Googled anything recently for the record? All it shows is the Gemini summation of what it was.
Oh, I
and
know
then
what you mean,
underneath that, it's only anything that serves Google. It's like YouTube and then there's some Meta, the Instagram, and maybe New York Times. But it's not what it used to be. When you Google something, AI has changed big time for Google.
AI is upon us and within us.
Well, let's just say, okay, so for the San Diego Union Tribune is owned by Media News Group, a subsidiary of the New York-based hedge fund Alden Global Capital.
Alden Global is the
a hedge
that's
fund?
Correct. Yeah.
A hedge fund.
Correct.
Okay,
so you can imagine
but where are they based? Do you know?
I think you just said New York.
Did I? Okay, New York based. Yeah, thank you for listening.
You're welcome.
Billy, let's say they acquired the newspaper from Patrick Soon-Shiong.
Oh, that's right. Of course, yeah, forgot about that one. It's changed hands so many times.
Well, he owns a bunch of stuff, right?
He bought the LA Times and the Union Tribune as a package.
Okay.
And he sold off.
Why? Why would he sell? I mean, why?
Well, he sold off the Union Tribune.
Not the
Alden.
LA Times. Okay, got it.
He kept the LA Times.
Okay.
I think he lives in LA and wants to, use it for whatever he wants to use it for. But
fractured. We're talking fractured.
Fractured, fragmented. These days, I mean, there's so many different organizations that are giving it a go that I'm so proud that some people are still trying to do real journalism in this town. Voice of San Diego has been around, I think, for more than 20 years. In fact, I know it's been more than 20 years because I was at the San Diego Magazine when they first came into business. And I remember doing a story on the fact that here's this new idea for doing news, a nonprofit-based entity.
Like it used to be.
They really had become a national model for nonprofit news. There are nonprofits here in San Diego. In fact, I have a nonprofit arm of the San Diego Sun. And so that's really helped me out a lot.
How? What? What's the difference between functioning as a nonprofit and as a for-profit?
So to talk about the San Diego Sun, then, I was a freelancer for a little while when I heard about this thing called the Bulletin Project, and it was being offered by Facebook, which became Meta right after I was brought into the Bulletin Project, which was they hired writers like me in cities all over the country to do websites about their local happenings, local news. And it was for 2 years. They gave us all startup funding for 2 years. And first it was Facebook, then it was Meta. We got a lot of educational programming, but I was basically left on my own to cover San Diego. And
it would be published on Facebook and Meta, or
it was published
on a website.
On a, it wasn't on Facebook per se. It wasn't on the social media site, but it was on a platform that they ran.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, Meta said, "Thank you very much. We don't want to have anything else to do with news." And it was interesting because a lot of people felt like maybe Facebook/Meta had started this Bulletin Project as sort of a mea culpa because of the damage they'd done to news by stealing advertising over the decade before that. So, we're not really talking about this in order, but hopefully it makes sense. But to talk about what I have been doing, there were maybe 100 writers in this Bulletin Project. And some people, when Meta said, "That's it, we're not funding you," some people said, "Okay, goodbye." I met some really great people around the country, and several people said, "No, we're going to keep going." So we found a back-end company, and we all sort of migrated over to this company called IndieGraph. And it was the same site, just run by a different back-end company. And I kept doing the same thing, but I needed to fund it, obviously. And I am not a salesperson. I'm a writer and I'm an editor, not a salesperson. I'm not an SEO person. I know how to do a social media post, but none of that's my forte. I'm a journalist. So basically, I funded my website by doing other freelance work. And that was not sustainable. So I partnered with a salesperson, and he gave it a good go. I don't know if that lasted a year, but we discovered that just selling low cost ads was not really worth his time, and it wasn't really sustaining the San Diego Sun. So I heard about nonprofit, and it wasn't something new. Like I said, Voice of San Diego had been doing it for over 20 years. iNewsSource is another nonprofit local publication. They do a lot of deep dives, and anyway, it's a trend across the country, nonprofit. And so basically, I found a company that would be my fiscal sponsor. And so that they vetted me, and I filled out a lot of paperwork, and I am allowed now to accept charitable contributions through my fiscal sponsor. So again, me, the journalist, not the accountant or anything else. For example, last year, everyone's heard of the Prebys Foundation. Fantastic organization that came into town, has a great new leader, Grant Oliphant, doing fantastic things all over the county, like the Prebys Foundation always has, but also focusing on downtown San Diego. One of the things that Prebys has stepped forward to try to do is to say, we want to make the Civic Center area viable again. And it was something that the city couldn't do. So,
why not?
Well, the city doesn't have any money.
Never mind.
City's broke.
Pretend I didn't ask that.
Yeah. The city of San Diego is broke. So they couldn't attract any developers. Prebis stepped in, partnered with the Downtown San Diego Partnership. And some smart people got together, and they're trying to, and I think they're on their way to succeeding in getting a project going that reinvigorates downtown. And that's fantastic. That's news to me because that's what I cover. I cover downtown San Diego. So Prebis is a foundation that can grant money, and they have done so to local media entities, a number of them in San Diego, and I was lucky enough to be one of them. And that's my sustaining model right now, getting grants to run the San Diego Sun.
Is there anything expected in return?
I mean, there is paperwork to do, and you have to show what your mission is.
As far as like content, things that you publish.
No, absolutely not.
What if it's contrary to, that's the biggest thing, advertising. Same thing goes with TV, is it contrary to, if there's a story that doesn't make things look good downtown, is that something that you hesitate?
No.
You still turn
Not
it,
at all.
and they don't withhold money from you for that?
100% no.
How is that? I thought that everybody did. I thought that was the whole reason to invest in media companies these days is to control them.
They're a nonprofit foundation, and media is not their only focus. They focus on the arts, and they focus on hospitals and doing good things with their contributions all over the county. And I'm pretty sure they're $1 billion entity. And I believe they give out $50 to $60 million locally every year. And so they're a godsend to the county and the city and to media organizations locally. And I should say that because you were asking rightly so about strings being attached. Because the media was hit so badly, especially in the Great Recession, 2008. Since then, I did a TEDx San Diego talk on the notion of media is disappearing. And I'm trying to recall some facts from my speech, but something like 2 newspapers every week just vanish.
In America or San Diego?
In San Diego. Sorry. In the country.
Yep.
In the country. Thank you for clarifying. And, sometimes they're buyouts, like what happened with the Union Tribune. But sometimes, like a little gazette somewhere can't stay afloat anymore because advertising is gone. So they go out of business. And then there's no source of news in like an out of the way type of a place. So that's called a news desert. And there are organizations all over the country that are aware of this and have stepped up and are doing more grants and funding than ever to organizations like me. I'm very small when it comes to organizations that are looking for funding. I'm a one-man operation.
You don't have people that work for you?
I do not.
Are there people that work with you?
I have interns that I use. I have a great photographer that donates his time.
You do? Donates his time? Like he doesn't get paid, or he does?
Does not get paid. No.
Wow.
Do you know Sal Giametta?
Of course.
He's retired, and he has a camera, and he takes it everywhere. And he said, "Would you like me to take photos of events?" And I said, "Yes, thank you very much, Sal." And he's fantastic. He's really good at portraiture. He doesn't necessarily take, wide shots. He just gets right up face. And I love what he does. But
I cannot believe it's just you.
It's just me.
Yeah. Well, I see that you turn on I'll see it on Instagram. Like, it seems like I don't go to a website for it. I see it, your posts on Instagram or otherwise.
And I have a newsletter that I put out, once a week, a free newsletter that basically is a recap of the stories that I did each week.
Now, are you able to monetize that kind of stuff? Isn't that a thing too? Or I don't know how. See, my curiosity is how anybody, because anybody's monetizing and making a living in independent journalism. So Like, do you pay yourself a salary and then you're able to pay your rent or mortgage, or, put gas in your car, food in your stomach, take care of your family? Or how is it set? Do you have other sources? I mean,
I do other freelancing.
Okay.
And
That helps too.
Just to talk about the life of the San Diego Sun, 2 years funded by Facebook Meta. The next 3 years, first year, basically me doing other freelance to support my own product. Next year, tried to get an advertising director. We decided it wasn't going to work. He wasn't, we weren't able to get advertising. Last year, I went the nonprofit route, and that has been able to sustain me. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm very thankful for it. I probably would have gone out of business without it. And I'll have to seek it all over again next year because I didn't really get a recurring grant from anyone. So, like I said, I'm a journalist. I don't do the business side of things. Happily with the company that I work with, that is my umbrella organization. They accept the funding. They take 7% from whatever it is, and they make it so that I don't make any, legal blunders with anything that I do, which is absolutely perfect for me.
This is incredible. I'm still in shock and awe that it's just you and some interns and Sal.
I appreciate you saying that. I
mean,
really do.
I'm like in shock. I thought you had a whole staff. It doesn't surprise me, I guess, because you do have so much experience, and you have, especially here in San Diego, everybody. And I'm sure that at this point, stories come to you more than you having to beat the street anymore. Is there anything in particular that you can think, okay, well, let me ask you this. Out of all the stories that you've ever turned, what is the biggest, or the one that you're most proud of, or, the one that pops in your mind as like the most impactful story you ever turned?
I will answer that question. Let me touch on what you were sort of mentioning before that as well. Just to focus on the 5 years that I've been doing the Sun, I have, I'm there. I live in downtown. Downtown 92101 is my coverage area. Because I do cover the neighborhood. I mean, the Union Tribune used to have their giant high-rise office in downtown. And the name was on the top of the building. Maybe you've seen it. Mm-hmm. It's not there anymore. They don't have that. So I think if let's say you're a reporter and you're walking through downtown and you notice something, you might be able to put together a story on it. Maybe there's more to it. Maybe you found a string of something that leads to something else. I don't know of anybody else that's covering downtown as a neighborhood.
Like a beat.
Like the Sun is. Exactly, like a beat.
Yeah, nobody does beat reporting anymore. So I don't know if people even know what it is. Downtown is my beat,
and because it is, I know the people in East Village who are complaining day after day after day after, Fault Line Park that's not being kept up, or about open air drug markets that are happening. That there was a sweep not long ago, but my sources tell me that the drugs came right back the next day. So, I talk to the people that live near Petco Park who are not happy about the concerts that play in Gallagher Square, because that's a long story, but there are concerts inside Petco Park, and then there are concerts that play in Gallagher Square, and Gallagher Square's amplifiers point right out into the neighborhood. So there's a lawsuit, and I'm I'm basically the only person that's covering on a happening by happening basis. They just went through mediation. The Padres and this citizens group just went through mediation, and it failed. So they're going to get a superior court ruling in October, I believe. But yeah, I cover that as if it's a story that happens on a daily basis. Maybe somebody will dip in if something happens in October in that case. But, I know the people. Yeah, you're correct. I know the people in all the neighborhoods of downtown, and there are association meetings that occur. And I could tell you about a really cool thing that's happening with these association meetings. There is I mentioned iNews Source.
Mm-hmm.
They're a nonprofit news organization, and they have a program called Documenters. Documenters it started off as a national program, and iNews Source brought it to San Diego. They hire people and they train them to go listen to public meetings, and they take notes. And then these documenters turn in their notes, and if there's anything in there that can be written up as a story, then iNews Source has their reporters get on it. iNews Source was very, very kind to allow other publications like The Sun into weekly meetings where we get to hear these reports about the meetings.
Oh, way to work together.
Coronado, the newspaper in Coronado, is another group that attends. So at one point, iNews Source said, "Hey, San Diego Sun, are there some meetings you'd like covered?" And I said, "Yes, please. Thank you. Good gracious. This is a godsend. Please cover, these downtown neighborhood association meetings." And I'm getting stories out of them. And, reporters don't have time to go to these meetings. You said that's what you used to do, right? And that's something that nobody ever loved, sitting through neighborhood meetings because they are what they are. But sometimes news nuggets come out of them. And if there's nobody to hear them, then, there's nobody to write about them and nobody to inform the public about them.
Sometimes the janitor comes out of that one day. I have a theory about how to treat people. I talk to everybody the same, whether you're a janitor or you're a president of the United States. Like, it doesn't matter, everybody, because in the room, the janitor could be the smartest one. So don't trip,
Hey, the janitor might be sitting through the meetings and hear something and
it's like you don't know who is the smartest person in the room. So treat everybody gets treated, the same, with the same respect. But it's in those meetings where I find myself, or I used to when I did this, identifying the janitor, the person who was most in the know, on the tip of the spear, who had the next story and cared. And whether or not they wanted to go on TV with it or not, at least I was able to identify that person, create a relationship with them.
Exactly.
This is how we used to do it.
Yes.
And it's been so long since beat reporting was a thing. When I moved out here right before 9/11, 2001.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't even started working at Fox 6 at the time yet. Boxes were still up in my apartment, and 9/11 happened. And I started working at Fox 6, and I went to the assignment desk editor and I said, "I need a beat day. I just got here. I have nothing to bring you." And she was like, "What are you talking about? I tell you what to do." And I was just taken aback, and I was like, thinking to myself, oh my gosh, half my job just got taken off my lap. I'm like, seriously? You're going to tell me what to do? I'm like, okay, that's great. But it turns out it's not great, because the assignment desk editor sits in the building the whole day. They're not out beating the street. They're not making connections with people in the community as nearly as much. And if they are, it's on the phone or on the computer or something along those lines. And they're not really getting those hyper local stories that people really care about day to day,
Absolutely, yeah. And I never worked in TV news, and you did. You have more
31 years.
That's amazing. And
my eyes are crossing just thinking about it.
But TV's been hit just as hard as print has. They've had to squeeze. I don't know how much you want to talk about TV news.
I'll answer any of your questions. It's eerily reminiscent. It's like, the big company buying up all the
Mm-hmm.
stations, and as a result, layoffs and consolidation and standardization and detached management. And, I feel like I'm not that person who's like, can't roll with the punches, like I got it. Things change, we're new technology. I love tech. I'm all about it and everything. I'm not that person, but it was pretty unnerving, the layoffs. As before I left, I was actually trying to get swept up in the layoffs because I knew at that point that I wasn't spending enough time at home and I wanted to stay home with my son.
Mm-hmm.
But they wouldn't lay me off. It's like, I was like, Mimi, but they, hey, you can lay me off and keep, with my salary on air and everything. Like you could keep like 4 or 5 guys behind the scenes, young guys or guys that have been here for a long time in, audio or whatever. And they were like, nope. Go back to your desk. I was like, ew.
Well, because
Okay.
I am a purveyor of all local news. I watch everything. I flick back and forth on the TV channels. The thing that I see that I think is sad is when young new reporters come into a market, and my understanding, and you know it better than me, is you start at a small market and you work your way up and you try to go to LA or New York or whatever it is, and new reporters come in, and I'll talk specifically about downtown because that's what I cover as a online news site. The reporters come in and they don't. It's hard to cover a new beat, and like I said, I've never been on television. I know there's certain pressures of being on TV.
You need a long time to get your contacts and to cover a beat. You need 2 years.
What's sad is, downtown. It's not gotten much better, and it's been worse, but it's still not at a good level, and that's with homelessness.
Yeah, right.
So when I see new reporters come in and do stories about homelessness, I just want to like scream sometimes because they'll find an angle, and the thing that bothers me about a lot of news reporting, not just TV but also print, is in the end there's sort of a editorialized wrap up of, well, gosh, it looks like maybe everything's going to be okay. And that's just not the way to report homelessness in any forum, because it's an ongoing problem. It's a complex problem. I won't go into it now of what plays into it, but you can't just come in and, if let's say there's people that only get their news from TV and don't live downtown and don't see what a problem homelessness is, they'll hear this, green reporter come on TV and say, well, it looks like everything's going to be okay. And that's not the case. It's a very nuanced situation. Things get better at a very slow pace, and they move forward and they move backwards. And we probably don't want to get too deep into homelessness as an issue, but
it just sounds like low hanging fruit too. It's
I agree.
The obvious story without having to do any work to find out what's really going on in downtown. And I would like to know, like, what is the latest on that? I know that there was a couple of professionals who were doing some research all around the country to find out how to solve the problem. And they came up, and I won't name them because I don't know if they want me to name them, but they're well-known, elected and otherwise professionals in town. And what they found was what Palm Springs does, they do it right. And that is that enforcing the law, that it's illegal to live on the street, on the sidewalk. And if, you get this warning and that warning, and then you get taken to jail. And I know there's a lot more to it than that. And maybe I should have those guys on next, to talk more about it. In fact, that's okay. Note to self. But I don't even go downtown anymore. I haven't been downtown San Diego in a couple of years, probably, because it's my understanding that it's really bad, the homeless problem. and dangerous, for people just walking around. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. You're not completely right. If you know what I'm trying to say is, there are spots that are worse than others. And wherever those spots are, my history with covering downtown and homelessness goes back maybe a couple decades. And, there was a time when the gas lamp quarter was emerging. And because it was emerging, the shop owners didn't want people to see homelessness in the streets. So it was moved over to the East Village. And it's still very much in the East Village. And, it, every year there's a point in time count that gets done. And that's sort of the basis of how you judge what the population is. But it's just not a real number. My face the right distance and
Yeah,
voice and
it's like
sound,
kind of,
it's all good.
yeah, just maybe like it used to be like about a fist apart, with these microphones, they're so good. Closer, the closer and just the more regular tone that you talk, the better off.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to do broadcast voice or anything. I had to learn that the hard way, big time. So I had an internet fail, and which I have literally lived here since 2018, had the same internet service, and never had an internet fail like that. And like 5 minutes before Ron got here, it failed, and then 42 minutes into the interview, it just dropped off completely. So we're in a heat wave right now too. So I blame it on the heat wave. Anyway, we're back. We were talking about homelessness, and you were mentioning what a complex problem that it is. What are your thoughts on that? And is there a way that we can fix this problem?
It's a complex problem, and it's not one solution, because I think a lot of people who are really work every day in the situation will tell you that every person that's homeless has a different story. And, maybe they had a drug or alcohol problem and went on the street, or maybe they went on the street because something happened and they got a drug or alcohol problem. So, depending on what you see every day, I'm downtown. I've seen it for many years. I've seen it go up. I've seen it go down. I've seen attempts, and I've seen half-hearted attempts at tackling the problem. There definitely were more larger encampments in downtown San Diego. They're not there now, and that's good for obvious reasons. When there's a lot of people all in one place, it gets dirty, and it's not healthy, and people are scared to walk by it. So I don't look at this as a problem for residents. I don't just look at it as a problem for people that have to experience from a distance, or the people that are going through it. I mean, I think we're all in this together, and I don't think most people want to live on the street. Some people wind up on the street. There are bad actors among those that need help getting off the street, and there are some that are street cowboys, as I've heard them called, and they're ne'er-do-wells, and they sell drugs, and they prey on other people that have befallen hard times and are on the street. So there are less tents on the street. I said there are fewer encampments. There are fewer tents. But it's funny. It's not funny, but it's, there's people who want to live on the street will find a way and a place. In downtown, there were areas in East Village, say 16th Street, 17th Street, which is very near where the 5 freeway goes by. And when the encampments and when the tents were broken up there, a lot of folks decided that they just needed to go on the other side of the fence where the freeway was, because that's not jurisdiction of the city. That's jurisdiction of the state and Caltrans. And when Caltrans would come and break up encampments, I think just like what happens in the city sometimes is, it breaks up and then next day everybody's kind of back where they are. So
how is that though? I mean, what is the policy? Is it they're asked to move once, twice, and then the third time they're arrested?
I mean, that's technically the policy. I don't think that policy gets followed to the letter. I mean, there's so many things we could talk about. We could talk about the city-run tent sites. There are 2 of them.
How are those working out?
They've been around for, I think, about 2 years. I've heard good and bad. There was a report yesterday that there have been a number of deaths in those tents.
Like overdoses or something like that?
Yeah,
or okay.
Mostly is what happens. And I think...
There's nobody there kind of overseeing the place?
The last report... I mean, I don't have specific numbers, but the last report I heard was that someone OD'd in their tent and wasn't found for 3 days until someone came around and the smell attracted them. So I think something, we talked about how young reporters come out and say, well, I think everything's going to be okay after they find like some sort of silver lining. I think a positive step is something that Father Joe's is doing. And let me step back half a step and say that very unfortunately, the city voted to close the Neil Good Day Center, which is a place where people can come and shower. They can, it's sort of a respite. They can sit down. There are services there. They can get their mail delivered there. So let's say you're trying to get back on your feet and you need an address where potential employers could send you letters. That's what the Neil Good Daycare Center was. Because of the budget, it was closed, or it's going to be closed by the end of the year. I believe Father Joe's is going to try to take some of those services onto their campus. And what Father Joe's does down there in East Village is just absolutely amazing. One of the things they did recently was they closed off part of their area where people could sleep, and they turned them into beds for people who were going through drug problems. So there's not a lot of drug beds in the city. In fact, I think before Father Joe's just opened up 42 there was 1.
So
in the city.
So for the shelters, you have to be clean. Is that what it is?
Not necessarily.
But the drug beds are different. How?
I didn't explain that very well. There are different rules about, different facilities have different rules. I'd say more of the religious-based shelters won't let you come in with drugs and alcohol. And, for every rule, there's someone that gets around it. So I think even in the city's lots in Balboa Park, you're not supposed to bring drugs in. But I don't know that there's a real procedure for making sure that people don't. Obviously, someone just died of an overdose there. So, I said drug beds. I guess the more proper term is sober beds. So beds for people who come in with a drug or alcohol problem and then go through that process, which I think sometimes takes 10, 12 days. And then they need a place to sort of rehab. So there weren't places like that. There were plenty of places to go and, maybe have a roof over your head. But now Father Joe's has converted part of its facility to sober beds. And I know it was tough because you can't get funding. You can't get local or state funding for sober beds for some sort of reason where it's actually showing preferential treatment to someone.
Oh my gosh! Don't even.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Are you kidding me?
It's anyone can come in and have a bed, but you can't say, well, you can only come in and have a bed if you have a drug problem.
Oh boy!
It's
Oh boy.
one of those laws that probably had a good intention at some point, but gets screwed around. So
Yeah.
Father Joe has decided to seek private funding. Um, and it's such a smart idea because that's what the problem is. And that that's not everybody's problem that's on the street, but that is a big problem. Drugs and alcohol. And
Getting clean is the hard part. Where do they go get clean?
that's exactly right, Chrissy.
And it's
So,
dangerous to do that too on some of the stuff. I mean, you need help with that oversight.
and
medical
they've
care.
they've got professionals and a
Oh,
professional
that
program
too. Oh,
doing that.
that's outstanding. Remember Father Joe was so great.
Yeah.
Remember when he would show up with his bobblehead with holding the $100 bill when he was fundraising? Do you remember the bobblehead?
I don't remember the bubblehead, but I know he called himself like something like the priest who, will take your money or something like that.
Oh my God, he was hilarious.
Yeah.
Loved that guy. He was the best, and that is probably the best known facility in San Diego, no doubt. Are there enough? Switching gears just a little bit, what about the police department? Do you know? From my understanding is they're having have had a hard time recruiting. Is that still the issue, or do you know? Do you cover that at all?
I think that in the past, the salaries have been lower than other jurisdictions.
Oh, that's right.
So
they
that
lost people right and left because of that.
lost people and didn't get recruits because the salaries were greater somewhere else. My understanding is that that's coming more into equality. Yes, there's, in the budget, there always seems to be not enough money for the police, even though this past budget, actually, while lots of factions were saying, I'm getting cut, this is getting cut, Arts said, our money's getting cut.
Not the police department.
The police department did not see any cuts.
Good.
But it is interesting that it's hard to get response. And, I talk to shop owners who say they've had something happen at their store and, you're told to call in on the non-emergency line. And the non-emergency line, once you can get through to someone after maybe an hour and a half, then you might get a response 2.5 hours later. Unless something dire happens, like if a call goes out that there's been a stabbing somewhere. And, I have great respect for the STPD, but it seems to me like an all or nothing situation. If there's a stabbing, every unit comes out and is there for hours. But, at the same time, minor things don't seem to get much of a response at all.
What's the biggest story that you're working on downtown right now? Is it all the new business that may come into town, or what is it the most the lead to your downtown story right now?
I think that the city administration has dropped the ball in terms of upkeep and keeping, for example, the gas lamp quarter up to speed. Chrissy, you and I have been here for close to
25 years.
Same amount of time.
Yep.
Gas lamp was, the Wild West, and then it became the entertainment district.
Place to go.
Everyone wanted to go there, and it's not like that now. There are a lot of empty storefronts. There is some homelessness in the area. But there really just seems to be a disconnect between the merchants there and the city. And I'll try to say this in as few words as possible. There was a plan to do a Fifth Avenue promenade where they would shut down traffic on Fifth Avenue and do activations and, make it so that people could walk in the streets. And I think like Third Avenue in Los Angeles is kind of that way. So money was spent, action was taken, and then the budget hit. And, I've covered in the San Diego Sun two sides. I've talked to the Gas Lamp Quarter Association, who've said the city funded this issue and then they just stopped. And the city says, well, the gas lamp quarter should have known we weren't going to be funding this anymore. So whatever happened, there's no money to, um, uh, for lack of a better word, beautify the gas lamp or to just even keep it up. People complain about the streets being in disrepair and ugly and, filth in a lot of places. I can't remember if we talked about East Village and the open drug markets over there, and just sort of a feeling of residents over there of a lack of attention from the police department and from the city as well. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of things to cover in downtown, but I think the biggest issue is just that I think downtown is in danger of losing its shine.
Oh, yeah, I think it already has. I mean, for sure.
Sure.
I haven't gone down there in years for that reason.
I mean, the gas lamp quarter is kind of considered the front doorstep of the city, and that's primarily, you would say that because so many conventioneers come into the convention center, which is down at the base of Fifth Avenue, right there on Harbor Drive, and a lot of people wherever they stay or where they fly in from, they go into their meeting at the convention center and come out into the gas lamp, and that's what they see, and it's not the prettiest sight. It's not as kept up as it used to be. And I think that's a real issue.
Something just occurred to me when you were talking about, maybe it's the police department. Maybe it's not the police department. Every police officer I know would love to just sweep up. I mean, I don't know any police officer that doesn't want to fix problems. Like they're problem solvers. And maybe it's not them.
I believe you.
I don't know.
I believe you,
I don't know where it is. I'm sure there's more to this. If it's up to them, this would be handled.
I'll tell you an issue that's happening in the downtown right now, and that is that rogue renegade food vendors are all over the streets.
You're kidding. No, they are not.
So if you're allowed to be a street vendor. I mean, the state of California has laws that protect street vendors.
Yeah, you have to be licensed, right?
You have to be licensed.
Yeah, you can't just go.
And if you're serving food, you have to have a food handler's license. There's a group of red cart hot dog vendors that are everywhere. They're in the gas lamp. They're in front of Petco Park before games, and the police. I have a photo on my website of two red cart vendors doing their job, and then two police patrollers parked right on the street, right behind them, with seemingly, they don't seem to care that the police cars have parked right behind them. And so apparently what's happened is the city tried to crack down on these vendors. And they wrote legislation that didn't exactly jive with the state legislation. I mean, the state legislation says it's legal to be a street vendor. But it also says, you need to follow the laws of safety and health. And the city of San Diego got in trouble because it very, very, very unwisely picked up a street vendor, but not one of these red cart guys. They picked up a veteran who'd been vending on the streets since the ballpark opened, and he had his licenses and he had all his papers. But I don't know why they chose him, but they picked on him and they confiscated his goods, and he sued and he won, and it's got the city kind of scared. And at the same time, coming from another direction, a group of 12 merchants in the gas lamp sued the city because they're not doing any enforcement. So they're getting sued for doing enforcement unwisely, and they're getting sued for not doing any enforcement. And so they've kind of themselves in a scared position of, we're not going to do anything to these illegal vendors, I think, until they get some clarification legally. But so nothing's getting done, and it's the Wild West. And it's, I am sad to say that one of these days, when one of these vendors who, half of them don't wear gloves, and they take your money and then pick up the hot dog with the same hand, and there's no glass guards in front of their food. And they've got open propane, and apparently, allegedly, they're dumping their grease into drains which run into the ocean.
Right.
So that's what the Gaston Court is trying to get legislated. The fact that they're health and safety issue and the fact that they're environmentally unsound. But it's like hear no evil, see no evil.
I want my money back.
At this point.
I want my money back. I pay way too much in taxes.
They don't have any money.
Well, why not?
Because they've been budget deficit for the past 2 years.
As much as we pay. And by the way, going back to the grease, the Coastal Commission would be the greatest. They are very aggressive, and they tend to get things done in a way that I can imagine if they pick this up, something might happen. I mean, they really are aggressive, sometimes to a fault. And if anybody's going to get on this and you're putting grease in our oceans, wait a minute, what?
I think you're right, but it's just it's kind of a joke. And
that's not really funny, right?
Correct.
This is just not funny. I mean, all the money that just flies out of my former paycheck. I don't have a paycheck anymore. One of these days I'll have one again. But all the money, it's so expensive to live here. It is crippling. And to be hearing this right now is mind-boggling. And I'm just so glad you're here talking about it because I worked in a newsroom, for 30 years, and I'm not sure I understood it to this extent, all of it, how things work together. And just naturally, going back to what you were talking about, the picture that you have with the two police cars behind the red carts, is they, like I said, if it was up to them, there'd be one of those brooms, they'd be sweeping up, man. Like there'd be nothing, no problems. But it's not up to them. Something else is happening.
Yeah, and the word has come down from City Hall to not take any action because they're afraid of future lawsuits and the lawsuits that are pending.
Well, whose idea was it to sue the veteran who had a license?
So they confiscated his goods and then he sued.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, they just took it.
They took his stuff.
Despite the fact that he had a license.
Yes. Chrissy, I cannot explain why that action was taken, but of all the vendors to go after, they went after the squeakiest, cleanest one. And
who did that? I want to know who did that.
Well, I mean, it was
who?
It was SDPD.
But who told them? It wasn't their idea. That was not their idea. I would bet $100 on it right now.
It's been a seesaw of enforcement and no enforcement, and apparently during enforcement, like I said, there's a state law that covers street vending, and the city of San Diego tried to interwork its own laws with the law that protects being a vendor, and I guess that the wording wasn't correct. Or, the actions that were taken locally didn't jive with state law. And I don't think that the local San Diego law was written correctly. It went from Mayor Faulkner to Mayor Gloria to one of the city council members, Jennifer Campbell, was the last one. And she covers the beaches. And, I don't really have eyes on the beaches and what the issues are there. Maybe they're different. Maybe they're somewhat similar. But it didn't jive with what was happening downtown. And we're stuck with two lawsuits that, has got our city afraid to take any steps. So the word from the city is don't do anything to these guys.
Great. All right, let's go back to your business model. I'm still in shock and awe that you, don't have an entire newsroom full of people. You're just turning these stories yourself with a group of interns. What is it like? As I thought about getting an intern for my company in this podcast, but the thought of managing someone right now, other than myself, in my own family, like it's just a little too stretch for me. Is it hard to manage interns, or is it easy, or what's that like? How do you do that?
I am the biggest fan of interns, as long as management is done properly. So I was at San Diego Magazine for 12 years and some other publications where I had interns as well. And there were a couple things. And it's, number one, you have to hire the right people. You have to do the hiring yourself. And you have to know what kind of people you're looking for. And that's people that, well, and for me, it's people that have writing ability. When I get a resume, I look at how well they can write primarily. And if I see that they can write and I think that their personality is, one that's going to be on time and care about the work that they do, then I'll hire them. And I think, I don't have an exact count. I think I hired close to 130, 150 interns.
Do you pay them?
That's a good question.
Or they get credit for school?
School credit.
Okay.
School credit. There was again, I think there was something with the state that was saying that you had to pay interns. I don't think that.
I remember that.
I shouldn't go on the record with that, because I think it's still, you can get school credit or get paid, but there's some legalities to it. Actually, no. Well, yeah, you can, because I work with San Diego State, and I'm trying to pay my interns. I've gotten to the point where I'm giving them a stipend that is not anywhere near worth the work that they do, but I'm trying to give them something. But yeah, they do get school credit. And I believe, number one, you find the right people, and then you tell them from the beginning exactly what you expect from them. In other words, up front, you give them the knowledge that they need, and they're not going to remember everything. So in the beginning, you give them smaller tasks. When I was at San Diego Magazine, we'd have them call up all the restaurants in our restaurant list and make sure they're still in business and had this and that, just rote tasks. And then I might say, okay, well, here's a brief you can write. And if they handled that well, I'd say, okay, here's like a full page story that you could work on. And but all along the way, talking to them and telling them what you need, because let's face it, they're college students. They haven't worked in the work field yet. They want to. Some are more talented than others in whatever profession it is that you're hiring for. But if you don't tell them what you want and show them how to do it, it's like a crapshoot if they're gonna figure out how to do it, or maybe maybe they're savants and they do. I have had conversation after conversation with people, talking about business, and it makes my blood boil when I hear someone say, "Oh, I can't hire an intern. They'll just get everything wrong, and it'll take me more time to fix it." Well, you know what that says? That says you are not a good manager, and you don't hire the right people, and you don't train and lead people correctly. Because, if you've got someone that's never going to learn, then you don't give them greater responsibility. Say you've got 3 interns and one does better than the others, then that one gets more responsibility, maybe gets a chance at bigger stories. But I'm always, when I get interns and I hear how excited they are and they want to learn about the profession, it makes me excited. It rejuvenates me to think, hey, yes, this is, because I'm in it every day, slugging away, writing the stories, talking to politicians, hearing people lie to you, trying to find out the truth from what's not the truth. I don't send interns out to interview the police about whether or not the law is being enforced. Not at all. I'll send them out to do profile stories, or like heard on the street stories, like give them a topic. And like, it's interesting because I just had a meeting with my interns the other day, and they said, excuse me, what if we ask people, we go up to people who have headphones on and say, what are you listening to? I'm like, yeah, let's get the summer soundtrack from people that are downtown. Interns can do that.
Remember Ruben Galvan?
Yeah.
Ruben used to go. Yeah. Ruben had a segment where he would go out and tap people on the shoulder and ask what's in their backpacks. And you never knew what was in those backpacks.
Lifestyle stuff.
That's funny.
Interns can do that And when you see one that can advance higher, then you let them advance. But yeah, 100% behind the idea of interns. I mean, you in your situation, you might not want more than one, but you'd want to hire like one good one. And like I just said, explain what you want, and
Okay.
and let them show you that they can do it.
All right. I got to figure that out because I don't think I'm ready to do that yet because I don't know what I need them to do yet.
Yeah.
At this point, it's like it's all grassroots and I don't even know what to tell them at this point.
Then you're not ready for an intern.
Yeah.
No.
But I'll keep that in mind. I had never thought of it that way. And by the way, going back to those, you were saying being lied to, and that as a reporter, that's why I stopped news reporting. That's why I got into weather because I got so tired of being lied to. I hated it. It is one of my weaknesses. My best friend has a saying, Chrissy doesn't like to be lied to. And the way he says it, it's like, you get it. It's like real deep voice. It's like, you don't need to lie to me. But when you're a news reporter, you get lied to like it's your job. Like you have to just sit there and get lied to I just hated it so much, but that was back when I was like beating the street and all that. But
there are bald-faced lies that you get told. And then there's just the runaround and the slight changing of words that a politician.
That's called obfuscation. Yeah. That's a lie.
Politic-speak.
But that's a lie.
Yeah.
Omission. That's a lie.
And you have to listen to every single word. I'll say politician. Every single word a politician says, because in their mind, they're parsing it so that it's actually truthful.
No, that's called obfuscation and it's a lie. That's the problem, that a full-grown adult thinks that obfuscating the truth is somehow still the truth, and it is not. They were not taught right and wrong, and I get really mad about that. I'm getting pissed off about it right now.
Yeah, well,
that's why I was like, I can't handle the pain.
From a news point of view, there needs to be more follow-up. There needs to be more follow-up questions. From the federal level down to the city level.
But it takes time. And in TV, there is no time. You have like a minute 20 for a package.
Right.
And you have to turn one for the 4 o'clock, the 5 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, the 7 o'clock, do a look live for the 11 o'clock, do a city by city for the 12, and then be ready to be on the morning show again. That's just a little bit of an exaggeration. But in TV, forget it. Following up, good luck.
Yeah.
Beat reporting, having a beat right now, not even a chance. You're just... It's a matter of like resources, and there's so many shows, and now there's duopolies, almost a triopoly here in town now when this Tegna deal closes, because it will. Very likely that is going to be a triopoly.
That's not good for a city, for one company to be in charge of so many different media outlets.
No. And you know who I think was hit the hardest of all, because it's KSWB, Fox 5, and KUSI are now in the same building. I think KUSI got hit the hardest. They were the only real conservative leaning station. Everybody else likes to think they're down the middle, and maybe they are, but KUSI just owned they're just a little more conservative. They were the only one out of 5. And when the merge happened, it was like, nope, everybody's down the middle. I think they should be. And the truth is everybody should be down the middle, but they were thriving doing what they were doing. And once they were told, you can't do that anymore to a certain extent, I think it changed them. I think it changed them in a way that they hadn't been. And how many years have they been in business? Like 50 years, 30 years, something like that. I think they were hit the hardest.
Well, you could say that, sharing resources helps keep reporters on the job. And that's maybe the only plus you could point to. But it's not helpful to have the same people covering the same stories on different channels.
Right. Yeah. Like we were talking about off camera after the internet died on me yesterday. It was... the news reporter is, got one story on one station as the lead, and it's the second story on the other station. And so now the people that are watching the other station are thinking, oh, that wasn't the most important story. Yeah. And there's no difference. And people at home don't know that they're owned by the same company
Yeah.
and that they just think that that's not the most important story. It's down into, and it, just between me and you, having, worked with line producers every day, it makes them lose their minds when they can't have the lead because the other station got it.
Sure.
For whatever reason.
Well, it also speaks to, and I agree with what you're saying, but it also speaks to holding people to account, holding politicians to account, because you're trying to do the same story for two different stations, entities, and you're trying to get a response maybe from the company that is doing something that seems wrong. And so all you've got time for is to get a statement from that company. And the company sends you a statement that says, here at such and such company, we feel that killing people is very bad and we try not to do it. And it's like, okay, well, yeah. So that's your response, that, you think it's bad that this sort of thing happens, but there's not the time to dig into that. And that's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. And it's not just TV, but also sometimes in print or online. A reporter feels like, well, I did my duty because I got a statement. And the statement is just
not enough.
Doesn't say anything.
What just occurred to me is that, it is, the TV news thrives with the breaking news. Nobody touches breaking news with a mile long stick than over the air, broadcast television, local news, especially when it comes to weather or traffic or a news event. Even online stuff. Nobody beats an entire newsroom full of professionals with a helicopter, with a drone, with seasoned professionals. That's when they're worth their money in gold. It's the print reporter is the one that has always been the one that had a little extra time to follow up on that press release, was from the company that says, we don't like, we don't kill people. We don't like that. And we try really hard not to, it's like, okay, but we need to follow up on that. Well, a TV news reporter may have breaking news that pops up and they aren't able to follow up on that for a few days, or another story or another thing that they've been assigned, because remember, they're assigned stuff now. Of course, reporters bring in story ideas, but it's ultimately up to the executive producer or the assignment desk to assign the stories, assign the photographer, and to manage the resources. But now print journalists are few and far between. That's why what you're doing is so important, and which is why I really admire how you're making it happen. It's year by year. This year it's a grant. Last year it was a grant, but before that it was something else. But you're just doing it. You're figuring it out as you go along.
The dynamic has changed. For me, it's definitely changed. I think it's changed all around. On the one hand, it's easy for me to say, I'm not out there necessarily. I'll break a story every now and then, but I realize that that's not my goal, and it can't be my goal because I'm one person.
Well, you can break story. You break stories out.
I do. Well,
just
I do.
But
sometimes,
I'm talking about breaking. A fire just started on the 5, or there was a giant crash that shut down the 5, or a huge weather event that's happening, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The different urgent news.
Right. That's urgent news.
News.
That's a breaking now news.
Yeah.
I guess I'm talking more about digging out corruption type of a breaking story. So what I aim to do is to take the news and put perspective on it. And that doesn't mean necessarily put opinion on it, but to put, and I actually, when I was at San Diego Magazine, this was our goal. We would read the newspaper every day and see what was happening. And the newspaper, which was stronger back in the day, would say, here's a story that happened today. And then maybe a week later, here's a story that happened today. And they happen to be related, but because of the nature of back then, newspapers, very competitive, do it quickly. There was no how this relates to that story. When I was at a monthly magazine, we had the capability to say, this story relates to that, and we can pull that together, and then we can get some more thought about it, and we can do a bigger feature news story about why it all means what it means, rather than just like boom shot this story. And I guess that's what I've that's what I've become, really, is being able to put some perspective on what the news is. I mean, it's that, and it's also the fact that I'm covering a neighborhood, I'm covering a beat, and you get to know the people, and they begin to trust you, and then they tell you the stories. And then, it's in the beginning of any beat, you're like, hi, I'm Green Reporter. And then you produce something and they say, oh, hey, Green Reporter, here's something else. And so after a while, the trust grows, and then you hear more stories. So that's what's gone away. That's what you're saying. That's what we're both kind of bemoaning. And that's what I'm trying to.
You're the last man standing, doing it.
I mean, I don't want to make it that tragic, but
I mean, pretty much. I mean, we got to figure out how to keep this going for you. On it, and you and I are going to talk. We'll talk again about that many times. But I need to ask you a really important question right now. How am I supposed to be a stay-at-home mom? What is that? What is that? I've worked since I was 13 years old.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes 2 jobs. For 5 years, I was full-time at Fox 5 and 6, and Padres pregame show. I was always taking more meteorology classes, and always educate. And now it's like, okay, all this time, I really can focus on my family. I mean, I'm still, obviously, I started a company, but what does it mean? What does a stay-at-home mom do? I mean, what is that? Are we in the PTA? Are we wearing aprons?
I mean, I think.
Am I supposed to wear makeup to school when I go to the school event? What kind? Because
I don't know about that.
Okay. How am I supposed to dress?
In this day and age, it's probably, I mean, it could be a stay-at-home parent of any gender. I know for a while when I was only freelancing, and my daughter had just been born.
My gosh.
I worked from home and I wrote stories, and basically worked around her sleep schedule. So I think you're beyond that.
Well, I'm pretty much doing that. I started this company in the summertime, and so it's really been like a little bit of a tough to do with this. Not really a schedule, but I have started a routine. I get up and I work out first thing every morning in a way I haven't done since I was 19 years old. I mean, I've always worked out, but it's like, it feels great. And I get a shower and I get breakfast going. And for the summer, I've really focused in on healthy eating and fitness for the family. And so, that focus. But I also would like to go to Catalina. Like, I've never been there. Not once. Never been to Catalina.
I love Catalina.
I would like to go. Yeah, well, it's like, well, when do I do that? Do I plan that? Or, do we do trips or, what's the deal? And, I got to work on the business, and, I need a paycheck. So it's not like I retired from Fox 5. I resigned, and they were gracious enough to, thank me for my service. And I had a wonderful going away and such. But this is Southern California. There is no living here without income if you're not a trust fund baby. So I don't know. It sounds like I just need to kind of, focus. Number one job, stay-at-home mom, focus on that family, and work when I can. And that's that.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how you be a stay-at-home mom.
I think
have a business.
You touched on it. Number one, that you have to self-care. You have to take care of yourself, or you're not going to be able to do the work when it's time to do the work. So your idea of getting up and working out is a good one. Probably having structure with your son is good. I mean, the good part is, we're in the age of Zoom. If you're going to do something that's interview-esque, I mean, we're here in the same room, but you can do it over your computer, which is, hasn't always been the case. So yeah, you've got to organize, and you got to find the spots that you can when you can, do the work that you have to do.
Wiser words have never been spoken. Ron Donoho, thank you for being here and for being my buddy for 25 years now. 25 years, yeah.
Chrissy Russo, thank you for having me on your show. I have watched you grow from a young girl.
That's basically, when I started at Fox 6, they thought I was an intern. I was 26 years old.
You told me that once for a story that I was writing about you.
And I had just come from working for the New York Times broadcast group, and I had on my square peg haircut, my square peg suit. And I was like, how dare they? I've been in this business for 6 years and they think I'm an intern. I look like I just popped off the beach, like I was like, okay.
Well, you are an OG in this town and highly, highly respected. And I look forward to seeing what you're going to be doing next.
Thank you. This town has been, I love this town. I love the people in the city. And I never talk about my personal life. I never. I mean, even before I moved out here, a lot of people are okay talking about that stuff. But no matter what ups and downs I had, it was like people just knew somehow. And people I didn't even know just somehow knew. And I can't tell you the amount of times, like, all the good people just stood up and were there when I never asked them to be, but were still there. I don't know how to get into more. I don't want to get into more details than that. But this city, they know that I worked my hardest every single day. And you can watch from the time, when I was 26 to the day I left, like I was tapering off, man. Like if I had stayed working that schedule, I would not, I was overtired is an understatement. Like, I don't even know. I wouldn't have made it, like that was, I had to stop. Like I had to stop that.
Well, whatever part of your career that you were in that I watch, and I've been watching media in San Diego for 30 years, I think, or more. You always had attitude. I'll say that. And you were the first, I don't know if you invented this. You were the first to kind of walk back and forth in front of the screen while you're doing the weather.
Oh, my boss hated that.
It's very imitated these days.
I just thought it was hilarious. I just think it's funny when someone just walks across the street. It's the most simple little thing. And this is what I mean is like people at home just let me get away with acting like a fool sometimes, but it was authentic every single time, just like it is right now. There's no, let me act like I'm a podcaster now. This is the same conversation I've had with you for 25 years, except this time it's in a different office, and it's like, they knew they were getting that authenticity every day, no matter what. And, sometimes I got my butt chewed by my boss, for my nonsense, but, then I'd clean that up. But, and it's the same thing with this. It's like, you're going to get the hardest working, the most honest and authentic. I don't know how to do it any other way. So, thank you for saying that, and I appreciate it. And I just love this town. I do. And that's why I'm staying here in large part,
Right.
It's like, why all my family's back on the East Coast, like yours, but it's like somehow I'm still here with all these taxes that I pay that just fly away into where? I don't know.
I think you're an institution. And like I said, you brought that attitude. You had your outfit of the day.
I'm thinking about bringing that back.
Which was...
What do you think? I contacted the old photographer that used to do that with me, Edwin Tacte, and I said, what do you think about bringing that back? How would it look? How could we do that? And he came back. I owe him a text message, but I was the OG IG, right? So
OG IG. I mean, it's popular, and that's kind of what's happening on social media these days. But I think it worked for you because you had that attitude. I mean, you're a very photogenic woman, and so you had the outfits, but I think you had the attitude that shined through.
It's just fun. It's not, everything's not all serious all the time, like it's just have a good time, like this is fun. This is a morning show in San Diego, right? It's supposed to be fun. And I had this clothing deal with the Padres.
You do you.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to, it doesn't need to be all the negative stuff. Like the news handles that enough. And, people just want to have fun and they just want companionship and they just, it's me too. I want to have fun and I want companionship. We all kind of want the same stuff, so let's go. Let's do it. But we just got to find some time. So what do you think? Should I bring back picture of the day or I don't know. So I've got to figure that out.
I think if you want to do it, I'd look at the picture of the day.
I don't know. It might
but I
look a
remember
little different.
it was very memorable. I don't think anybody was doing it at the time. I was like kind of right before Instagram, like you say, OG, IG. I'm sure, people like to see what clothes you're wearing and might like to see if they want to wear them.
Ron Donoho, thank you. All right.
We'll end on my expertise.
Okay. We started with your expertise and the middle was your expertise and we'll end on it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy.